Next week on Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson, Power to the Moms. Find out what you need to do to become a power mom. Plus, if your mother-in-law criticized you, who would handle her, you or your husband? Our Relationship Roundup shares how to handle being on the outs with in-laws next week on Can You Relate? We're back with Relationship Roundup. This is the segment where I get to have my friends come in and sit on the couch and I toss out a topic and we talk about it. Well, this week's topic is about mother-in-laws. What do you do if your mother-in-law says something or does something that makes you feel offended? What if she says you don't cook well, or you didn't do something right with the kids, or your decorating is bad? I mean, how do you handle that? Do you talk to her? Does your spouse talk to her? So I want to introduce you to everybody here, starting with Debbie LaFont, who you just saw in the first segment. Debbie, I know you and Maurice have been married 30 plus years,
36
correct?
years.
36 years, and your daughter Beth, who we talked about. And Rochelle Agbuji, we have your daughter on the set with us. You've been married 6 years with
Yes.
3 kids.
Yes.
And Barbara Rose, married, and you always laugh when I say this, 39 years, and you have 2 children, 2 adult girls.
Yes.
So, what are you going to tell Mom?
Well, I think that sometimes silence is golden, and your husband should be the one to address it.
What do you think?
Well, I was my mother-in-law's favorite child, even though she had 3 of her own. And so we really never had any contention until I became a mother myself. And then, as you said before, she was interrupting me or giving me advice about my child-rearing skills. And
How'd you handle that?
I complained to my husband, and he said just ignore it. So that's usually what we would do. But I think it depends on your age and your relationship with your mother-in-law. I think when you're young, it's really hard to be able to say to this woman who's a very powerful figure in your life.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think it also depends on how communication works in the family, your husband's family of origin. If it's very different from how, like if it was my mother, I would just say something. But if there's cultural differences, if there is communication style differences, then it's really hard to kind of address certain things. I'm a very direct person, and it may be offensive to someone who might be a little bit more passive aggressive with their communication. So.
Debbie, what do you think?
I've really never had that problem. I guess I'm rather lucky. I've always been her favorite daughter-in-law. Granted, I'm her only one.
Yeah, we got 2 of them.
That's not my issue.
No, wait. Even when Beth came into the picture, your mother-in-law didn't kind of get in the way,
Not really. I mean, not really. I mean, she was the first grandchild too, so and if there are problems, my husband reminds her that he married me, not her.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So what I'm hearing, I think the consensus here is that you think that the husband needs to be talking first. It's the first line of defense.
Absolutely.
But when my mother would be critical of my husband, I would jump immediately to his defense, because how can you say something bad about the one person that I love most in the world?
Absolutely.
You know?
Right.
And I always say, leave and cleave.
Leave and cleave.
And I hope that I am not. I want to make sure that I have an open communication, because I don't want to be like that with my son-in-laws and be the, the forceful mother-in-law that butts in all the time. And, I can see myself doing that. So I'm training myself now for the next 20 years so I don't become that mother-in-law.
Well, setting boundaries with your family of origin, even your own parents, is so counterintuitive, because you've been raised to say yes, whatever, unless you're a teenager. But once you're an adult, there does come a time. Oops! Here we go. You probably want to spit on that. There does come a time where I think it's okay. Delivery is everything, is to approach the person, and it might even just strengthen your relationship. But everybody has their own opinion, and that's what this segment is all about. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Now, if you have some ideas on this topic about mothers-in-law, mothers-in-law or mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law.
Mothers-in-law. You want to Facebook us, Twitter. You can send us an email at info@canyourelatetv.com. And if you want to be on Coach Kathy's couch and talk about some fun topics, let us know. You could be next. Stay tuned, because we've got the next segment coming up right away.
Next, you're committed to protecting your home and loved ones, so who should you commit to for help? Then, texts, emails, internet. He's having an affair. With his iPhone, Coach Kathy connects him to real communication.